This is the Leading Second podcast, where we're on a mission to equip local churches everywhere to raise up uncommon leaders. The Leading Second podcast releases every Thursday morning, so hit follow and share this episode with your team. Now, let's jump into another episode for all of us who lead from the middle. This is the year of the leader. This is the Leading Second podcast.
Welcome back to Season 6 of the Leading Second podcast. My name is Brandon Stewart. We are so excited and honored to have you in this space today. If you lead from the middle in any capacity in your church, Leading Second is for you. So welcome home. And hey, today we have a really unique conversation for you that I've been wanting to have for a long time. So excited to get there today. But first of all, today we're really excited about Leading Second Plus. Leading Second Plus is our digital home for online courses, leadership content, leadership labs, live events. It is our way of resourcing you to resource your team. It's our way of building leaders through digital content. It is available to leaders everywhere for a monthly subscription, as well as on a license program for churches that want to offer it to their entire team or use it in leadership settings. It's a space I'm really proud of, and I'm so excited that this month we have a new course out on God's preparation process that I believe is really going to help you and equip you. So head to leadingsecondplus.com. Check out the offerings there. The first 7 days is always on us. We'd love to have you a part of our growing community with that site. Okay, so for today's conversation, I am so excited to introduce to you a very special friend of mine, and his name is Dave Rich. Now, you may not know Dave. You probably don't. We have a lot of names and guests on the podcast here you might know. I doubt you've heard from Dave, but you need to hear from Dave. Dave and his wife, Terry, are longtime members of my home church, Champion Center, and they're on our legacy giving team. They are trusted, valued members that are helping our church move forward through legacy giving as well as campus expansion. And the conversation I want to have today is about leading second through legacy giving. You know, in churches everywhere, there is a silent and powerful army that exists, an army that hold up their pastor's arms and serve the house by way of funding the vision. And this is often an unseen and unsung area of the church, but it is vital and it is necessary. And today you're going to hear from a man who has been pivotal to that in my home church. Dave also has recently written a book called You Were Meant to Climb, Summit Your Dreams and Leave a Legacy. He has a brilliant testimony. He is a wonderful man with a lot of funny stories on how he got to where he got today. You wouldn't expect his journey. So without any further ado, here's my conversation today with my friend, Dave Rich. Dave,
Yes,
welcome
sir.
to the Leading Second podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
No, it's our honor. It's our privilege. I am so looking forward to this conversation today. I've been looking forward to this one for weeks. So thanks for saying yes. Thanks for being here today. And hey, thank you for being such a pivotal part of our church. We're going to share your story throughout the episode here, but I just want you to know from the jump, I really respect you. And I respect you and Terry and your contribution in our church and all that you are. So just from the beginning, know that we love you, and I'm excited for our tribe to hear from you today. So welcome. Glad you're here. And I'm also joined with Pastor Nichole Moore.
Hello.
Our Tacoma campus location pastor from Champion Center, but also, I guess, Dave's campus pastor. So we get to hear from...
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I need to get all the real stories today now.
Yeah.
We'll have some fun, but welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And Dave, as we're jumping in today, we're talking about leading second through legacy giving. I have been so excited to help leaders make this connection between legacy giving, significant financial giving in the kingdom, and leading second. This is a way that so many in the local church hold their pastor's arms up and move the vision forward, something so silent and so unseen and yet so strong, so needed in the body of Christ.
Yes.
And that is legacy giving. And I was just excited to have this conversation and make that link today. And you certainly have been absolutely essential and pivotal in our journey at Champion Center, in that I'd love if you would just kick us off today. Tell us a little bit about you and how in the world you found yourself in our church and a part of our legacy team.
So I came out of San Jose, California, up here to Washington State, was here about a year, and ended up getting saved and meeting my wife, Terry. And we were in a church in Federal Way, and we were asked to leave because divorce was not a thing at that church, which brought us down here to Champion Center. And I was a new Christian at the time, and Terry was, walking me through things, and tithing came up. And I was like, I work way too hard for my money. That's not an option for me. I'm not giving away. I don't care 1% of it. I'm not going to give away, let alone 10%.
Wow.
And she shared a scripture with me, test me in this and see if I won't open the floodgates of heaven.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I've been an entrepreneurial person all my life. And so we started a business called Mustard Seed.
Yep.
Mustard Seed Enterprises. And that business was collecting cardboard on my way home from my real job and recycling it and paying tithes on that.
Oh my gosh.
Test me in this and see if I won't throw away.
So I got to get this straight. You're not paying tithes on your day job, but you are on the cardboard. God made the cardboard cut, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, he made the cut there because I was
the things campus pastors don't know about the people that they serve, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I said I was nervous about having this with you. Because
Yeah.
you
You're
think you know everybody.
That's fun.
Everything. But anyway, so, test me in this. And so that was pretty simple. We'll find an income stream and begin a new business. And it was called Mustard Seed Enterprises. And out of that, my first tithe, not ours, because Terry's paying her tithes on her money.
Wow.
Because she'd already told me, we will not be mixing money as long as you're not tithing.
Gosh.
And so she's hard. She's hard when it comes to that stuff.
You got some high standards.
Yeah, very. Well, when we first got married, she told me, you go backwards into that junk you came from and I will clean your clock.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Terry I wouldn't want to get hit by Terry.
No.
Yeah.
So my first tithe on that was $2.38. Yeah. And it just continued to grow. And I'm watching this, and it wasn't long. And, I'm paying my tithe, and now me and Terry are mixing our money. And she came from a worker background, and I was self-employed background. So it was very difficult to draw her out of that, being a worker bee, and into owning her own business and understanding that you work half days when you own your own business, 12 to 12, 12-hour days, if you're lucky. Yeah. And the rest is, you've still got to find time to sleep and eat and all that. So we grew that business to the point where, fast forward, we have 6 LLCs that we run right now, and we're property managers of those 6 LLCs. Wow. And we get to do what we do now for the church without having a day job.
It's amazing. That's amazing. Today, you would be what I've heard Pastor Kevin referred to as like his first king. Now, that would be a little bit of a take on the kings and priests concept that's been taught, in the church over the last, several years. But first king, in other words, the last bit of time that you've been involved as a legacy giver, you've given Pastor Kevin incredible confidence in a way that others haven't. Not only through your giving, but I think also just your countenance in it, your confidence in it. You have you have been so essential, I guess, to giving our pastor confidence. And that's what I am really excited about people making this link, because there are people listening to this or church leaders who lead people that would fall into this category who haven't made the connection yet that they may not be a pastor, and have that title or may not work on the church staff, yet they have a very real and meaningful way to hold their pastor's arms up and accelerate the vision, and that is through their giving. What was the day like when you made the link that you could support and champion your pastor in that way?
So we've been here at Champion Center for 27 years, so I've watched the good, bad, and ugly in pastors. And Champion Center is really all I know. And Pastor Kevin's all I know. And I heard him say from the pulpit one time that he was the biggest giver in what was legacy offering. And in my mindset as a businessman, I know what I have to, the burdens that I'm shouldering to run a business, and to have to take on a to have to be the guy that's going and emptying the garbage. And that's not what giving is, but I'm just thinking, why is he the biggest giver?
Why is he doing that? Yeah.
Why is he doing that when he's got enough burden that he's carrying? And so I remember the day I heard him say that. I went up to him after service, and I says, that will be the last time that you ever say that. I'm going to take you out of that position.
Did security come follow you as you talked to him?
I think they did.
I'm sure they did.
Because I remember somebody coming up from, and Pastor Kevin saying something, it's okay, it's just a culture thing. That's
he
funny.
knew you meant well.
Yeah, you just triggered that. Yeah. That was, but telling that to him, I was sincere. It wasn't a joke to me. It was serious stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. You are not going to get to say that again. Wow. Well, come to find out, he is very competitive.
Yeah.
And I'm very competitive. And so that began a bantering for us back and forth every time Legacy. I mean, to this day, up until the month before Legacy, we start texting, and we just start, going after it. Well, I got to know people in the church, and I got to know people on staff, and I got to know the people that actually know things about Pastor Kevin and Sheila. So I started one weekend kind of month ahead of time asking around, where's Pastor Kevin at?
So you want to know his giving amount so you could beat him, is what you're saying.
So I could beat him.
Yeah.
And so I find out what it is. And so
That's pretty sneaky, Dave.
Yeah.
I don't think I could figure that out.
I find out what it is. And so Dave Yaden, he's the guy that gives the totals up to the screen, running back and forth. Yeah. I give him a dollar bill. And I says, at the end of service, after everything is done, you've put up the grand total. I want you to add this dollar bill to it. And we go through service, and we're having a blast and a party and everything. And it's done. And Pastor Kevin has turned and looked at the screen, and he's rejoicing. And it changes by $1 right before his eyes. And he spins around, and he points at me clear across the auditorium. And he's like, that was you. Yes, it was.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Did you beat him? That's what I got to know.
I beat him. I beat him that year. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, because I knew what his giving. I cheated. I knew what it was going to be.
Right. You were a worthy opponent, Dave.
I was there. I was going to make sure that happened that year.
So here's what I think is just amazing too about you is you don't come in the package that everyone would think you would come in as one of the most significant givers in.
What do you mean,
our
Brandon?
local church.
Like, what kind of package are we talking about?
I mean,
here?
Dave's had security called on him.
You mean he's not in a three-piece
when
suit?
He's at a church to speak at the church? You had that happen to you one time.
Multiple times.
You're the new guy that everyone's a little unsure of why you're here, and they don't realize that you're there to actually speak at the church. They think you might be there for other reasons.
And typically, I'm walking into a legacy event.
Oh, yeah.
And-
You're around money people is what you're
money
saying.
people,
and
yeah.
you don't look like money people.
and I don't look like money people. And I'm following a pastor into a venue. And as we're going in, my flight had been delayed. We're running behind, and the pastor's probably 6 or 8 feet out in front of me. And I come through the doors after him. And out of the corner of my eye, I catch this person stand up.
Sure.
And I'm aware of my surroundings because of coming from the life that I came from. And I'm like, I wonder what that's all about. And so I'm walking and going towards the back corner, following the pastor about 8 steps behind.
That's so funny.
And all of a sudden the pastor turns around and he's cutting his throat, shaking his head. No. And I'm like, what is he? Is he talking to me? And I just keep walking, and we sit down, come up, do our thing that night. It was so much fun. I get a gentleman come up to me afterwards. He puts his hands on my shoulders. He's like, bro, please don't be offended by this. But when you came in tonight, I thought you were a homeless person looking for free lunch.
And he told you this.
Yeah, he told me that. And I'm like, offended? Are you kidding me? I wear that like a badge of honor. Thank you for telling me that.
I was looking, I noticed you didn't have your socks and sandals on today.
No sandals today.
I dressed up for Leading
Dressed
Second.
up for this one.
This is great. This is great. Maybe that might give somebody a bit of permission.
You know, Brandon, it's the church. It really is. And there are so many unassuming people that are out there in the church that they're just waiting to be asked.
That's great.
And they're thinking, I'm not all put together. I'm not looking like that.
Yeah.
You know, those people on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
But those people on the platform have a specific calling that is on their life. But we all have the same purpose. Yep. We all have a purpose of moving the gospel forward. When Jesus left here, he gave us that mandate.
That's right.
And I believe that from the bottom of my heart. I am not Pastor Nichole. I'm not Pastor Nichole. I'm not a drummer. I'm not a singer. But when she's done at the end of a service and everything went well, and she knows she nailed this service, she walks out of there. That's her worship.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
That drummer that comes off of the stage, when he knows he's nailed that, that's his worship. When I get an opportunity to solve a problem financially in a split moment, youth camp this year, this year youth camp. I see off to a distance Pastor John talking with somebody, and his countenance is falling the last day of youth camp. And I'm like, and I went over, and I'm like, I pull him out of the conversation. I'm like, what's going on? And he says, we don't have any pickups for baptism tonight. Nobody wants to use their pickups because something happened. One of them got hurt last year. And I'm like, what do you want, Pastor John? He says, I want to pick up Dave, and I don't care how you get me there. I trust you.
Wow.
Just get me there. And so in my mind, we're 5 hours from baptisms. We're out in the middle of boonies. I take off because I know exactly what we need, and I know that it's in Tacoma. And I get down to Tacoma.
Oh, wow.
I get these 2 troughs picked up that I know will fit in the back of a pickup. They're black. They're going to blend in. I get them in there, get up there, get the water heated up. We have baptisms.
That's awesome.
I nailed it that day. That was
some fine worship. Yes.
Wow.
I love the way that you phrase that our worship. Pastor Kevin, we had staff, we call it staff rally, our time once a month. We gathered together at all of our locations, and he was teaching, and he was talking about the teams of leaders that it takes in order for us to do the things that we do. And he talked about how we have the same goal, but different roles. And I think people misconstrue that so easily because we admire a role that's different than ours. You know, everybody wants to be the quarterback, so to speak. Sure. Nobody wants to be the lineman. When's the last time the lineman gets the interview at the end of the game, right? It's rare. But without a great lineman, you don't have a quarterback that can shine. And so having these different roles are critical. They're mission critical. And yet it's funny how we as human beings, we associate all these different like hierarchies of which role is more important. But at the end of the day, you're just saying, no, actually, doesn't matter what role you have, it's your worship.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's pleasing and acceptable to God.
One of my strengths is significance. Oh, that one can bite you.
Yeah,
That one can bite you, especially if you're a businessman.
true.
And Pastor Sheila, when I found that out and I read about significance, I was horrified because I didn't want to be that person. And I remember Pastor Sheila sitting me down and talking to me about it. Dave, the significance is okay as long as you're significant for the right purpose.
Very
and
good.
the right reason.
Very good.
And the church is what that's significant. You be significant for the church, you don't have to worry about the rest
Very
of it.
good.
So the focus on significance is less about you and more about what you're doing for
Yes.
the kingdom.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
That's well said. So back to the idea of you being the first king, and you were in the race on the giving. You did something pretty cool though one year at Legacy Getaway.
Yep.
You surprised Pastor Kevin with something. I'd love for you to tell that story.
So when I sold off all of our hands-on businesses and just became a property manager, Pastor Kevin asked me, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "To be honest with you, that really scares me because since I was 12 years old, I had a job to go to on Monday morning, and I'm going to wake up this Monday morning and I'm not going to have a job to go to, and that scares me." And he says, "Don't you worry about that. I got something for you. When you're done with selling off your last business, you come see me." And so I came and we talked, and he asked me to take on the role of church expansion for our campuses.
Yeah.
And I'm a builder. There's nothing better for a builder to stand inside of a brand new building and turn the water on for the very first time and hear it rush through those pipes, and you've just brought life to that, and you stick a business inside that, and that business flourishes. That's the best feeling in the world. Now I get to do that for God. I'm thinking this is going to be so much fun. And so we started looking around at different properties. He wanted to be in DuPont, and we're looking all over down there, and I found a piece of property down there. We went out one day driving around, a team of us, and I showed him this property, and he says, "Dave, you're not understanding. I want a building. I don't want to be a developer. I need a building in DuPont, something that we can pop up and get a church in." And so we quickly shift, and we find this building down there. We get it built out into a church that just flourishes down there. In the meantime, I've still got my eye on this property because it's a very good location. And Arco AMPM had bought it at the time, and they had it under contract. It hadn't finished the sale of it, and the community ran them out and wanted no part of that gas station being in there. And so they lost that deal. While I'm following it, it ends up in bankruptcy court. And so I talked to Terry, and I says, "I think we're supposed to buy that piece of property and give it to the church." And Terry's like, "What does that look like?" And I said, "Well, I think we've done very well buying property and dividing it and stuff. And I think we can buy that piece of property and divide off a chunk of it that we could sell off to recoup our costs of it, and then be able to give the church the property they need to build the church." So we came to agreement on that. That's what we were going to do. We went out, showed up in bankruptcy court. We put an offer in there. The judge looked at our offer and said he wasn't going to look at any other offers, that this deal was done. And we got it. And so I called Dave Yaten. He's the only one that knew about it. And I says, "Hey, is Pastor in town?" And he's like, "Yeah, why?" And I says, "We got that property in DuPont," because Dave knew what I was doing. And I said, "I want to tell him." And he's like, "Dude, don't tell him. Don't tell him now. Wait till Saturday night at Legacy. He's going to interview you anyway up there." He says,
amazing.
"Tell him then." And I'm like, "Oh, really, Dave?" And I'm thinking, I don't know. And so we get up there, and the media team had a map of the property and stuff, and we get it all done, and the pastor's looking at me, and he always knows when there's something in my mind, something going on. He's like, "Dave, you got something else you want to say?" And And I said, well, Pastor, I said, remember that piece of property in DuPont? And he says, yeah. He says, that's really would be a nice location for a church. I says, it's yours. And he said, what do you mean it's yours? And I says, we just bought it and we're giving it to the church. And he was speechless. Now, I've never seen Pastor Kevin speechless. And he reached over, he grabbed me and he pulled me in and he was like, I can't believe you just did that to me. And I said, no, it's Dave's fault. Dave's the one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Dave's the one that told me to do that.
That's amazing.
That was a really great moment for our church, really.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, it inspired others.
Yep.
It may not be something as expansive as property, but you start to help everybody see what's in my hand.
Yeah.
I think too, though, you talk about legacy givers being a second chair leader. I think Dave showed us what that looked like. I think there's other people in the room who wonder, what does it mean to take my resource and my wealth, and you can tithe it, you can donate it financially. Dave took a different route. He was creative in the way that he gave back to the church. He still took his resource in your legacy-minded giving, but you actually, you put yourself out there. I mean, if it had gone through the church's entity, it makes me wonder what the judge would have said if it was a church that had showed up that day versus a businessman.
Yeah.
Like he went out and did something on behalf of the church that maybe the church would have had a much more difficult time doing for itself. Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of us coming together and using the resource and the tools that we have, you know.
I think something you did instinctively there to that point is that you effectively translated your pastor's vision.
Yes.
You saw what was in their heart, and you didn't just write a check for a value. You actually unlocked how to move a specific part of the vision forward. You actually I've heard, Joseph in the Bible is one of the famous second chair leaders, if you want to call him that. He was never Pharaoh. He never served in the first chair, so to speak. And actually what brought him to the second chair was his ability to translate Pharaoh's dreams and what is this? And if you can think about that as second chair leaders, we're dream translators, where we hear the whispers of our pastor's heart and we go, I think I have a part I'm supposed to play in that. And we all do that. We do that on many. You did it with property, but we all do that in the second chair to some degree. And I'll bet you gave others permission to see it that way as well.
Well, no doubt. I mean, I feel like as leading in that role that I lead in, I'm constantly asking Pastor, if you could go somewhere else, where would you go?
Yeah.
If we put another church, where would you put that church? I'm not asking them that for a conversation. I'm asking them that to tuck that away in the back of my heart and in the back of my mind. So then, I'm driving down the road with Terry and the car's flipping a U-turn and she's like, time to get the camera out. And she said, what'd you see? And we were taking pictures of property and then we started running. It's what we do. It's what we get to do as a church member and as knowing the heart of our pastors.
Well, it's the privilege of proximity. So it's a privilege to be in close proximity with your pastor. If God allows that, if God brings you to that place in your context, you have a privilege there because you get to hear the whispers.
Yes.
You get to hear the frustrations. I was just on a Zoom call with Pastor Kevin yesterday, and I heard one. And it had been a little bit since I had really heard I heard one, and I thought, I think I might have a responsibility to do something about that. And I'll never forget, years ago, I heard him say something walking down the hall. This is a long time ago. Walking down the hall, and he just kind of whispered something like, I'd love to see, whatever. His assistant at the time, Tony, she was his, legend assistant for 20 years. She was walking behind me and she leans over to me and she says, he's asking you to do something about that. Like she just kind of whispered that in my ear, and that always lodged in my mind, that the privilege of proximity, he
so good.
He may not have been asking, but he was asking. Or it was the opportunity of hearing the cry of your pastor and being able to do something about it. And I just think if you stick around long enough in the second chair, you're going to find yourself in that place.
So with that comes a responsibility
Yes.
from you, though.
Yes.
And I've heard pastors say this about me, and I'm not blowing my own horn with this, but it's a true fact. He says, this guy is unoffendable.
Yeah.
I've tried to offend him and couldn't offend him. But that's over time I can tell you when I had to draw a line about that was proximity around, we've been able to travel with them for the last 10 or 15 years.
Right.
Like, hey, you want to tag along? He said, like, let's go. So we were down in South Africa, and it was when we first started traveling with them, and we're walking through a mall and everybody is just talking, freely. And I start talking to pastor freely, and I start sharing a story about something going on inside the church. And we go through this hallway, and Pastor Sheila keeps me on the other side of this hallway and spins me around and gets right up in my face. And she says, you will never, ever share things that go on inside our church with my husband again. He has people in place that take care of that. Now, I had to choose that day. Do I get offended by this?
Wow.
Or how do I handle this? And I mean, Pastor Nichole and Pastor Sheila are two people, I'm not going to cross either one of them. And I looked at her and said, yes, ma'am. And I never, ever, and there's been times he's asked me questions and I'm looking at him going, man, I've been told not to ever do that again.
Yeah.
And so that's a very fine line. But I think all of us especially as business legacy, finances are so personal. Finances are personal. They're our babies.
Yeah.
There are children. We've worked hard to raise those finances. And we have to understand that when we let go of those finances, when we put those into the church, they're no longer ours. We're not responsible for them.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens, the offense, it can't come on us.
Yeah.
Because if the adversary could get us offended, he's got his feet up eating popcorn, saying, another one, I just got another one out of that church.
You stick around your pastors long enough, you're going to see their humanity.
Come on.
Bottom line.
Yep.
And you're going to see the chinks in the armor, and your ability to handle that is really what determines if you can stay there.
Don't get me wrong, Brandon, that was not a chink in her armor. She was educating me as a person inside the church. And I was mortified that I didn't know that. I was like, wow.
But you come from a different world. Yeah. My husband's in the business world, not in the ministry world. And it's interesting to me because if I was to go into your world, I couldn't hang with the language and the vernacular and the conversation because I don't understand the protocols, the vocabulary, the do's and the don'ts. So it really was just a moment where she's just saying, hey, look, we love you. You're here, but don't do that because that's not going to be helpful. What would have been helpful in business doesn't always translate in the ministry world. Yeah.
So the big question I guess I came to ask you today, I'm just going to ask you one, then we can land the plane. I have something I want you to share at the end, but why is being a legacy giver valuable in the life of a church? Like, what do you think it means to a pastor to have a legacy giver or an army of legacy givers come alongside them?
It gives them permission to dream. It gives them permission to know that this call, this purpose that they have in their heart can be fulfilled, that they can continue to dream and continue to put plans out there and move the gospel forward. Without a legacy team in your church, it would be like having praise and worship without a singer. In the morning, or without a drum player. You have to have all those pieces together inside the church to make it happen. And I think when that legacy team forms inside the church and it begins to run alongside the pastor rather than the pastor leading it, I'm the biggest giver here. When that takes place and it moves forward from there, pastor, I feel like he can take a deep breath and say, okay, they've got this. They've got this. They're moving this forward. One of the best legacy offering we ever had that will stand out in my mind forever was in 2008, financial crash. Everything went to crap.
I remember that year.
It was horrible.
Yep.
And he got up on stage 3 months before, and he pulled out his pledge and ripped it up in front of everybody and said, I want everybody to go home and do the exact same thing. We are not going to live under this oppression. And I'll never forget that.
Context on that, in 2007, I think it was, we had launched into a building campaign.
Yes.
A financial campaign, of course, not knowing what was coming. So we were entering into the crash everyone was experiencing, but under a multi-million-dollar building campaign. We had all just pledged at our highest levels, and then that was weighing on our church at that moment. Were you telling that story?
But I wonder if, had he not known he had an army of legacy givers that were going to recoup, and they were going to come back stronger than ever, if he'd have been able to stand up there and tear that up and give those instructions. I think that's freedom to a pastor that can can operate in that manner.
Well, it comes down to not being alone. I think, when you were talked about earlier about the humanity of a leader, if we were all really honest, we wonder, will anyone show up? Sunday morning is not mandatory, especially here in the Northwest. And as soon as the Seahawks play at 10 a.m., we're all like, oh, Jesus, help your people love the church more than they love the Seahawks this morning. We all have those real moments of wondering if we're going to put this, if we're going to put the vision out there, will anyone grab a hold of it, and will anyone support it? And in the deepest parts of who we are as leaders, that's always a wonder. So when you have, like you said, an army of people that are saying, not only do we believe in your vision, but we're going to give ourselves financially to support this vision, it's a tremendous burden that's lifted off of him. And it does give permission to dream again.
I've loved talking with you today, and I love your example even more. You wrote a book, by the way, which I'm really excited about. It's called You Were Meant to Climb. I'd love if you would just tell us about it briefly, and why did you write that book? I think this is a book that could give pattern and permission to a lot of givers out there, but then a lot of those who just want to really leave a legacy.
So I wrote this book to help to let people know that as you're growing into this, it's a journey. It's a journey in life, and it only gets better once you say yes to the tithing like I did, and once you get yourself embedded into a church. This is the only church I know. I didn't know that there was that being in a church, if you got upset or offended by something, you just go to another church. I didn't know that was a thing, and it's still not a thing to
We're
me.
really glad about that.
Yeah,
Really.
it's still not a thing. So that's the purpose I wrote this book, to share my journey in the church and how I grew up in the church, and what I feel the church means to me today, after doing all that I've done. I hate people that tell you the end of a movie, because it's why see the rest of the movie? But I want to read the last 2 pages of my book, and if anything, I hope it inspires somebody to go get it, because this is really mine and Terry's heart today, as we get to do what we get to do. It's a line that she came up with during COVID. She says she didn't make it up, but she doesn't know where it got it. So I'm believing. I just tell her, you made it up. Don't worry about it. But she says it's time to invest what you cannot keep into what you cannot lose. You were meant to climb. You were made to overcome challenges and to summit your dreams. However, when you get to the top of the mountain, you cannot stay there, because you were also meant to leave a legacy. And that cannot be done if you stay on top mountains forever basking in the glories of your accomplishments. In order to leave a legacy, you need to come back down, and you have to give it all away. All the work, all the wisdom, and all the resources. Remember, you were called according to his purpose. Your calling is to go out there, scale those mountains. Your purpose is to further God's kingdom and give it all away. So take stock in everything that cannot go with you when you leave this earth. Then make sure you invest whatever you cannot keep into what you cannot lose. People, children, churches. Children, youth today are being so challenged with the things that are out there. The more we can step up and invest into that, the better. God has always been about people, and he will always be about people. When you invest into people, the return on that investment is out of this world. It's eternal return. Sometimes we get to see those returns, like the person who makes a decision to follow Christ, or the person who gets planted in a local church. But many times we sow into people, we don't get to see the return and on that investment right away, or even here on this earth. But I guarantee that nothing done in the name of the Lord will be fruitless. Our legacy will be fully seen when you are in heaven. There will be people there thanking you for your life and influence people whom you never met, but because you've touched a life that touched another's life and that touched another, they will testify to you about the influence you had on their life change. So let's climb as followers of Jesus. Let's rope together and summit mountains God has designed us to conquer. And as we do this, let's work united as a worldwide body of Christ and bring the lost and the hurting with us. As the global team church, let these be our tenets of the climb. We go together, not alone. We are undivided. We let the best idea win. We abandon smallness. We are undeterred by offense. We starts with me. We move church forward.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So well written. Hey, if someone is listening and they're stirred in their spirit, they're seeing themselves in the pattern that you have provided. Paul said that to Timothy about considering his pattern. So that there's a pattern that we offer others on how to live and how to serve. Where would someone start?
Tithing, prayer, believe that God has everything for you. Step out into that. Don't hold back. We serve a God that more than ever needs people to stand up, put their hand up and say, I want to be that person. I want to be that conduit that you're going to use to funnel finances into the kingdom. This book, I knew nobody that helped me write this book. I left high school reading and writing at the 5th grade level.
Wow.
To write a book is not me. I mean, you heard the way I just read. I just don't read well. But I said yes to God when he laid this book on my heart 15 years ago on top of Mount Rainier.
Oh, wow.
I'd never walked on a hiking trail, and he helped me summit that mountain. So I said yes to writing this. He rallied a team around me that got me here within 3 weeks of me saying yes. So Brandon, now you got me down a whole nother trail here. When I got sober, he said to me, go pour it out, go flush those drugs. And I says, I've done that before, it doesn't work. And he says, you've never asked me for help. It's different this time. If you're out there and you haven't asked him for help and you're trying to do this alone, give that up and just ask for help. He needs you as much as you need him at this point. This is hard times.
Hey, we love you, respect you. Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for your pattern. Thank you for the way you lift up our pastor's arms. We're so grateful for you. Thank you, Nichole, for being here today. God bless you guys. Well, I hope you received something valuable from this conversation today. If you have, I would encourage you to hit subscribe however you listen to this, and plan to join us every Thursday morning this fall for another important conversation. And if you'd find value in using this with your team, head to leadingsecond.com/podcast for a free episode guide. We'd love to equip you to help your team in that way. Hey, Leading Second, we love you. We're thankful for each and every one of you. Until next time, let's run strong for the kingdom and lead in an uncommon way together. God bless you.
To find the episode guide, visit our website, leadingsecond.com/podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram @Leading Second and join us on the Leading Second Collective on Facebook.